Hello, dreamers! Oh my goodness, I've been thinking of all of you. Welcome back. Welcome. In today's video, we are going to talk about preparing for the upcoming Mercury Retrograde. The tips and tricks here will apply to any Mercury Retrograde period. These Mercury Retrograde phases are pretty common phenomenon. They occur anywhere from 3 to 4 times a year. So almost 25% of the time, our lovely planet of communication and commerce is slowing down in this modern time in which we live. We're expected to go, and send, and scroll, and shop, and talk. And Mercury asks us to take some breaks, to introspect and review an area of our life. Anyway, let's talk about how you can prepare. Anyone who's kind of like an astro seeker, just keep maybe in your camera scroll or on a computer, or in my case, I actually print this out and it actually is on my refrigerator. A Mercury Retrograde calendar, just to look at every once in a while so you can be aware of the times per year when you might not want to be rushing through life. The times of year where it might be better to plan to relax and retreat a little bit. Step 1 in preparing for any Mercury retrograde, of course, is to know when the retrograde period is going to be. So whenever you look at these like Mercury retrograde calendars, you'll see one on the screen now. You'll usually see that the calendar is shaded in a variety of different colors. There's usually a shaded period and it'll say shadow. What's a shadow, right? What is that? And then there'll be one that says SR, station, that means station, retrograde, or SD, which means station direct, and then there'll be a shadow again. At the time that I'm recording this, we are in the Mercury shadow period for this Mercury retrograde, which is happening in September of 2022. And what this basically means is that the planet Mercury, which is moving through the sky, has entered a point which it will be going back over again before returning to its full speed. Those of you who are very Mercury sensitive will notice some potential Mercury manifestations of the slowdown starting to happen during the shadow period. This can include things like it takes the person a little bit longer to respond. It can be, for example, yesterday I had a delivery order that was meant to come between 2 and 3, and it came at like 8 o'clock at night. An app that you always use on your phone starts going a little finicky, but pretty much everything's okay. But you just started to notice, Mercury must be doing something in the sky. So the first step is identify the dates of the retrograde and understand that the shadow period's a time to start slowing your Mercury pace a little bit. Just start slowing down a little bit, open your eyes, observe what's happening. It's not the full retrograde period, but it's a preemptive period. It's kind of like a prelude to the retrograde. This Mercury shadow period, as you'll see on the calendar, it started on August 20th and it runs all the way through September 8th during this retrograde, but it may be different if you're listening in the far future. This is our time for preparations. And then the shadow after the retrograde is the time to process and think about what you've learned. The official retrograde, the time to kind of cozy up, take things slower, rest, relax, all the things we talked about in my other 2-part series on the Mercury retrograde, which will be linked below. In this retrograde, that is going to start on September 9th and run all the way until October 3rd. Some people say don't buy anything or don't travel anywhere, stuff like that during the retrograde. As we talked about, that's not always necessary, but it is about matching the pace of Mercury. When Mercury is moving at full speed, I might schedule a trip or a driver with like a 15 minutes of extra time. Like, oh, okay, like if traffic isn't great, this gives me 15 minutes to get wherever I need to go. During a Mercury shadow period, I might ask them to come with additional 30 minutes. So now we have 30 extra minutes if something goes wrong, and I'll still be on time. When Mercury is fully retrograde, in this case shown red on the calendar, I will schedule in a full hour or more. Same thing like with buying things. So if Mercury is sailing through the sky, just a great Mercury, I usually will just buy something. Like I'll just buy like whatever and I'll just trust, okay, this is probably going to work. If I have a question, maybe I'll ask, but I'll just kind of assume, okay, we're good. And I won't really think much about it. During a shadow period, I might ask a consultant some questions or really read the nutrition facts or just like really kind of just look the product over and maybe take a picture of the receipt or something if I get a little bit of a feeling. During a Mercury retrograde, like if I would need to buy something especially unusual, like I'm going to keep the box, like I'm going to keep the receipt, I'm going to read the fine print. I'm just going to make sure, like if for some reason this doesn't work out, I definitely have everything I need. So I would really keep everything. Step 1, identify when the retrograde period is going to be. That brings us to step number 2, to identify the sign of the Mercury retrograde. Now, if you have one of these handy calendars, which you can find, there are a variety of them on Google Images. You search like, oh, Mercury retrograde calendar 2022 or Mercury retrograde calendar 2025. If you're listening in 2025, God bless you. And then you just pull it up and they usually say the sign. So if you look at this one for September of 2022, you'll see that it says Mercury stations Rx, which means retrograde, on September 9th at 8:55 of Libra. So what is the sign of the Mercury retrograde? It's Libra. We only need to know the sign. So in this case, it's Libra, but if you're looking in the future, if we're just peering ahead, whoa, what's going to happen right after Christmas, right before the new year? Look at that. Mercury, what do we see there? SR. Station retrograde again. Mercury's going to station retrograde again. If you look right below that, what will the sign be? It says Station RX, December 29th at 24:21. Ooh, what is the sign? That one will be Capricorn. This one is going to be in the sign of Libra. So now you know the sign. And that brings us to step number 3, which is to identify the house in your chart. So you're going to need to do this. You're going to need a copy of your natal chart. And at the end of this video, I am going to provide a short tutorial of how to get a copy of your natal chart for free in whole sign houses, which is going to be the best way to make accurate predictions about the way that this Mercury retrograde will manifest for you. Okay, so we're going to provide that at the end. I can only recommend that you use whole sign houses. That's the only thing that I can recommend, okay? And that's going to make this method much easier. So I'm going to put up here a copy of my own personal natal chart. And we are going to look for the glyph shown on the screen now that corresponds to the sign of Libra. Using your own chart, you are to find this symbol here on your chart and then look for the little tiny number in the center. That is going to tell you which house in your natal chart is ruled by Libra. Once you've identified the house in your natal chart that is ruled by the sign of the Mercury retrograde, so in this case Libra, but maybe if you're in the future, it could be Capricorn or another sign. The next step is review the significations of that house. So let's say, for example, you looked on your chart and you saw the glyph and it fell in the house that has the number 6. So you might wish to Google significations of the 6th house plus astrology, or significations of the 12th house plus astrology, or significations of the 1st house plus astrology. I'll show some of the house meanings on the screen now. So using my chart again as an example, we did find that Libra ruled the 2nd house. So this is when we'd want to start thinking about what again is there in the 2nd house? What does the 2nd house mean? The 2nd house is the house of physical possessions and earned income. The 2nd house shows in part kind of our wealth and tangible physical objects of value in our life, as well as the way that we earn our income and the amount of income that we have. That we are likely to be presented with some sort of challenge in the area of our life indicated by the house that we've found that the Mercury retrograde will be happening in. So for example, if it was the 6th house, that could be your health or daily routine. There could be a challenge. So for example, if it was 6th house, maybe you find out you thought everything was going really good, but you go to the doctor and you find out, oh no, I'm having high blood pressure. I might need to make a change. Preparing for the retrograde means that we are understanding that this is a divine phenomenon and we're making space mentally, spiritually, and I think, temporally, in the sense of giving time for this to develop. We understand that we're going to be given something related to that house to kind of work with during the retrograde. That's likely to appear at the beginning portion of the retrograde, maybe the 2nd week of September or so. Since this is happening in my house of physical possessions and earned income, some things that I plan to do, you can start to think, what would I like to plan during this retrograde? What might be some productive activities to sort of shore up or make more efficient the house area of my life that is being indicated by this retrograde period? And I actually plan to go through everything in my house. Ask myself, have I used this? Is this productive? I'm going to assess my physical possessions. In some cases, I think I buy things that I already have on stock, but maybe I'm not willing to go kind of climb up in the high cupboards and see how much I have or things like that. So I'm going to take an inventory of everything that I have. I'm also going to review reports from my business about my earnings month to month. And I'm going to create space for something to emerge, something unexpected, some kind of initiation relating to 2nd house matters to come into my life. I am now attuning to this energy and understanding, yes, okay, I accept this universe, right? So wherever it's happening in your life, this is the mindset I recommend as you prepare. We are being consciously asked to make an assessment of that area of life indicated by the house of the retrograde in your chart. What can I willingly do to work with this energy? Ask yourself, have I overdone this retrograde period? Because I think in the time leading up to the retrograde, you kind of look over your calendar, and if there are any days where maybe there's too much going on, if there's any time where maybe there's too much going on your calendar, or you're attempting to do something really substantial in the area of life indicated by the retrograde, you might consider not doing that. You might consider just, instead of doing it in September, let's go, for October instead, or something like that. So if there's anything that needs to change, anything that needs to be rearranged or reorganized now in preparation for the retrograde, or even if you're listening at the beginning of the retrograde, now might be a good time to actually do that and just ensure that there's not anything on the calendar where there's too much going on. We've been through these retrogrades before, And the goal really is to shore up and increase the efficiency and processes of the house area indicated by the retrograde in your chart, so that when Mercury begins to sail ahead at full speed once again, which in this case is going to be where there's no colors on the calendar, so it's going to be starting the 16th of October or so, we can then proceed in a much more efficient, effective way, having sorted out whatever snags there were in the process areas of that house. If anybody has any questions about the Mercury retrograde period, please put them down in the comments below. Otherwise, we will end today's video with a brief tutorial on how to get a wonderful free copy of your chart with whole sign houses. So, thank you all so much. Thank you so much for listening today and being part of the Maya Stream community. I appreciate all of you, and I wish you all an abundant and restful and deeply fulfilling Mercury retrograde period. Blessings to all of you, and namaste. Welcome! Welcome, dreamers. Let's all get an amazing free copy of our natal chart in whole sign houses. Okay, first go to Google or the browser of your choice and type in astro.com. Next, just click the main heading to get to astro.com. Then we want to scroll all the way down and over to charts and calculations. Next, you want to find extended chart selection. There are so many amazing possibilities under this selection. The next step is to enter your birth data. Hopefully you have the time of your birth on hand, because you'll need that. You'll just put in your amazing name, your wonderful name, your gender, the date of birth. Make sure to get the right month and right year, as well as the hour of your birth, right from your birth certificate if possible. And finally, your birth location. Our hypothetical person is born in Orlando, Florida, right next to Disney World. Next, you're going to click Continue after checking over your data. Now we get to the amazing extended chart selection, where we can finally select whole sign houses. The best house system ever! Look at that! Whole signs! Yes! That's so important. I'll also show you some other things I like to select, which include the mean node for the north node option, and La Parte Fortuna, the part of fortune. Now click show the chart. We're about to see the chart, you guys. So here we go. There's Libra. It's the 12th house of this chart. Look at that. Now you have an amazing copy of your chart in whole sign houses. The best house system ever. Thank you for watching this video tutorial, and have an amazing, spectacular, awesome, and brilliant day.